Assalamualaikum and good day. Today we are here for webinar for e-Open Day at PITA UCS. The title is Clarivate Web of Science. My name is Muhammad Shihabuddin from Pejabat Timbalan Rektor PNI UCS. Our distinguished speaker today is Mr. Vishesh Sharma, is a regional solution consultant at Clarivate with his strong expertise on the research solutions such as Web of Science and Node and JCR. Vishev has been instrumental in supporting the researchers and management at top research and academic institutions across the South APAC region. This includes top universities, research labs, organizations across South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. He has been a regular speaker at various forums on best practice in scientific research discoveries, analytics, evaluations, and benchmarking. He also conducts the online webinar Web of Science certification series every year. Before I give the session to Mr. Sharma, I would like to announce at the end of the session, we're going to have a quiz, okay? And PITA will provide five prizes for five winners. Okay, the link for quiz will be announced after the session, and link for attendance also will be given after the sessions. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Vishesh Sharma to start his session. Please, Mr. Vishesh Sharma.
Thank you so much, sir, and a very good morning to all of you. My name is Vishav Sharma, and today I will be conducting the session on Web of Science. It gives me a great pleasure to be conducting this session for your esteemed university. I'm really honored to be given this opportunity. Uh, so, without further ado, I will start by sharing my screen. What I will do is I will first take you all through a short presentation, and then we will have a look at the live platform, and we'll take it from there. And once we are done with a basic demo on the Web of Science, then I will be happy to take a few questions as well. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started. I'll start by sharing my screen. So I hope my screen is visible. Can anyone confirm? And I'll stop sharing my.
Not
I'll
yet.
stop my camera. Yeah. I hope my screen should be visible now. Is it visible?
Yes, we can see. We
All
can see
right.
your
So you
screen.
should be
Yes,
able to.
yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Sharma. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So I will be talking about Web of Science today. So Web of Science is a platform which is used for academic and research excellence, and it is used by most of the institutions globally. So see, Web of Science is a great platform for every researcher. So we recommend the use of Web of Science as it is the one of the most widely used abstract indexing and citation database. However, from a researcher's point of view, how do we take this forward? How does a researcher tend to use Web of Science? So what we've done is I have compiled a couple of use cases or a couple of scenarios under which a researcher would want to use Web of Science, right? So here we go. Why use Web of Science, right? So here are a few use cases. For a researcher, the best way to start research is by conducting a literature review. And for this literature review, Web of Science is probably one of the best platforms, right? We know that there are a couple of other platforms available freely in the market, platforms like Google and Google Scholar. However, Web of Science is an excellent product for literature review. You can use it for a lot of things, and I will show that to you when we get to the demo, right? uh, what I generally tell people is that, Web of Science is such an easy platform that when you're doing your literature review, you should be able to find, if you find just one good paper related to your research, that paper itself is sufficient and can help you in your literature review by taking you to more papers that are related to it. Yeah. So we'll see that when we get to the demo. Sorry. Then discovering the most impactful research and emerging trends. So here what we tend to say is that, Web of Science, you will find the latest research happening in all parts of the world, right? No matter what research area you belong to, if you want to find the latest in research, then Web of Science is the platform for you, right? uh, there could be some emerging trends about which you may not be even aware. However, Web of Science is that platform where you will definitely find the latest research getting published, and you can keep yourself updated on the latest happenings globally. Performing research evaluations. Now, what this basically means is that, research these days is getting very competitive, and there is a lot of research available to us, a lot of information that is available at our fingertips, right? Thanks to the internet revolution, we have we are now flooded with information. But now this gives us another problem, right? This leads to another problem. And this is called the problem of plenty, right? We have lot of information available at our fingertips through the internet. However, we really do not know which information is really valuable and which is reliable to us, right? Which information to trust and which one not to trust, right? uh, if you type any keyword on Google, you will get millions of results, right? And that is exactly where the problem lies, because you do not know which result is reliable, which result is trustworthy, and which is not. What is the source of the information? All these questions need to be answered first before you start using that information for your research. Now, Web of Science really helps you in this manner because, not only do you get information from trustworthy sources, however, we also help you in various evaluations. Like, for example, in your research area, if you're interested to find out for example, which is the leading organization doing research in your particular domain, right? Then Web of Science is the product which can help you, which can find you globally as well as within your own country. What are the leading organizations doing research? You can find out which are the best funding agencies operational in your area, for example. Yeah. And you can find out which are the best journals where research is getting published that is related to your research area. All these questions can easily be answered using Web of Science, right? Just give me a minute. All right. Yeah, sorry, getting back to my presentation. All right. So you can even uncover potential collaborators. For example, if you're looking for a good co author within your own country or even outside of your country, you can easily find good, good co authors globally anywhere, thanks to Web of Science. You can do some research, some searches related to your research area, and Web of Science will show you some results. From those results, you can actually shortlist an author, and we can give you even the contact details of that particular author, and you can approach this person for collaboration, for co-authorship, right? I will again showcase this to you when we get to the demo. Then identifying quality journals. Well, Web of Science is very well known for quality, right? Uh, this is one product which believes that quality should not be compromised, right? We are the only source of impact factors. I hope all of you understand what an impact factor is. It's a very commonly used parameter to judge the quality of a journal, and we are the only agency that allocates impact factors to journals, right? By the way, I would also like to inform you that we do not publish any journal of our own, right? We index good quality journals from other publishers. Hence, we have our own set of criteria depending on which we will decide which journal is to be indexed. I have a separate slide dedicated for this. And based on that, You will find journals that get indexed on Web of Science, and then we evaluate them further to decide which one gets an impact factor and which one does not. Right. So Web of Science is the only platform in the world which can allocate an impact factor to a journal. Please remember that. Then powering rankings. There are a lot of ranking agencies globally, and most of the agencies actually use Web of Science for their ranking purposes, right? Because they believe in the quality of results available on Web of Science. This gentleman, Dr. Eugene Garfield, he started this database way back in 1964, right? At that time, he called it the Science Citation Index. It's also called SCI these days, right? People, I'm sure most of you would have also heard of SCI indexed journals, right? So now the name has changed slightly. Now we call it Science Citation Index Expanded. The word expanded has been added in the end just to tell you that we have added more journals. We have expanded the SCI. So now we call it SCIE, Science Citation Index Expanded. And it is very much a part of Web of Science, right? So Web of Science is everywhere, which means that it is a common perception that only researchers would be using Web of Science. Well, that is not true. Most of the people in the research domain would end up using Web of Science, right? Apart from researchers, we even have research administrators who would use Web of Science. Now, who are these research administrators? We have people like the deans, directors, vice chancellors, HODs of departments. All these people tend to use Web of Science, right? Under various scenarios, under various use cases. For example, an HOD can think of using Web of Science to find out uh, who are the most prolific authors in their particular subject domain, right? Or maybe a vice chancellor could think of using Web of Science. Let's say if you have some funds at your disposal and you want to decide how to disperse those funds among the various departments, you can actually look at the research output on Web of Science, and then take a decision. It will be a more informed decision because it tells you the kind of research being conducted by the various departments and what is the publications, how many citations are being generated. All this data would help you in making those decisions. A lot of funding agencies tend to use Web of Science these days, simply because they might want to understand. Uh, See, there are hundreds and thousands of grant applications that reach these funding agencies. Now, which of these applications is to be accepted and which one is to be rejected? For that purpose, the funding agencies also tend to use Web of Science just to find out the just to get a little more information about the authors, like how many publications a particular author has done, and how many citations have been received, what is the H index of this particular author. All these details will help the funding agency in deciding whether to accept the grant proposal or not. Similarly, a lot of publishers also use Web of Science these days just to understand the kind of journals that are getting indexed. What does it take for a journal to get indexed on Web of Science? All these details, right? Okay, moving on. Now, this is the structure of Web of Science. It's actually a very simple diagram, and this is basic. I've basically designed this so that all of you understand how to look at Web of Science, right? How to do the searching on Web of Science. Now, Web of Science is basically a platform. Normally, people call that say that Web of Science is a database. I would like to call Web of Science a platform. Why a platform? Because on this platform, you will find various databases. If you look at the outer circle, you will see various databases, right? If you look at the top right corner, you'll see Biosys Citation Index. Now, this is a database. Similarly, below that, you will see the Chinese Science Citation Database, and so on. As you go around the circle, right up to zoological records on the other end, uh, these are all databases which are hosted on Web of Science, right? On the Web of Science platform. And uh, among these various databases, the largest database that we have, we call it the foundation of Web of Science. And that largest database is called the Web of Science Core Collection. It is the core of Web of Science, right? It is such a huge database that we have divided that database in various indexes. If you focus on the inner circle, you will see the Web of Science Core Collection, right? uh, Within this core collection, you will see various indexes. For example, you should be able to see the Science Citation Index. I'll just minimize my screen so that you can follow the cursor. Here, you will see the Science Citation Index. And then you have the Social Science Citation Index and the Arts and Humanities Citation Index. Okay, let me go back to full screen now. Now, the reason why we've got these various indexes is to make sure that you know where to find your stuff in simple words, right? For example, all the science related journals would be found in the Science Citation Index, right? So if you are a science student, right? If you are, let's say, a student of engineering, or maybe a student of chemistry or mathematics or any of the sciences, or even medical science, you will find all those journals in the Science Citation Index. All right. Similarly, if you're a student of economics or, let's say, management, you would find your journals in the Social Science Citation Index, because in this index, in the Social Science Citation Index, you will find journals from all social science related subjects, right? Similarly, for arts and humanities. So these are the three flagship indexes we have, and then we also index conference proceedings, we index books, and we also have this other index called the Emerging Sources Citation Index, shown in green color. Right now, here I would like to highlight that it is a common perception among people that on Web of Science, any journal that you see on Web of Science, it will have an impact factor. Well, that's not true. We do not allocate impact factors to all journals on Web of Science, right? So on Web of Science, we allocate impact factors to journals only within the Science Citation Index and the Social Science Citation Index. I'm minimizing the screen once again just to highlight. Look at the cursor. We allocate impact factors to journals only within the Science Citation Index and all journals within the Social Science Citation Index. All right, only these two indexes, journals within these two indexes will have an impact factor, right? Which means that any journal appearing in the Emerging Sources Citation Index, that will not have an impact factor. It will be on Web of Science, but without an impact factor. Similarly, journals within arts and humanities, they are very much there on Web. They are on Web of Science, yes, but they do not have an impact factor. Right? Same logic applies to conference proceedings, books, and any other journal indexed in any of the other databases that are hosted on the Web of Science platform, right? So, in simple words, impact factor is allocated only to journals within Science Citation Index and to journals within the Social Science Citation Index. All right, moving on. Then moving on, this is the uh, screenshot of Web of Science platform. I'll talk about this when we get to the demo, right? All right. This is an important slide. It tells you basically the quantum of data that we have on Web of Science, right? If you focus on the top left corner, we have the Science Citation Index expanded. Within this particular index, the data is available from the year 1900 to present. So right now we are in 2022, which means data is available for almost more than 121 years, right? And over 56.8 million records. So, uh, Social Science Citation Index, again, the data is available from the year 1900 to present with over 10 million records, right? And so on. Now, the beauty of this data is that, right from the year 1900 to present, all for all years and all the data that you see in within these indexes, we have the citation and indexing information right from the year 1900 onwards, right? Whereas on other platforms, this may not be true, right? And this is one of our biggest strengths. This is something unique on Web of Science. You will never find any other database or any other platform where you would see the citation and, referencing information which dates back all the way to 1900. Yeah. Okay. Then we have had a tie-up with this agency called Impact Story, because of which our open access content has increased. And if you conduct any random search on Web of Science, for example, here I've conducted a search, and you would see on the left hand side there's an option called open access. Now when you click on that option, you would find all the open access content related to that keyword on the Web of Science platform. Yeah. Now, once these results are displayed, we give you a breakup of the open access, right? Options like gold open access, gold hybrid, free to read, and green. All these variety of open access options are available thanks to our tie-up with this agency called Impact Story, right? And let's talk about the journal evaluation now. Uh, I had told you initially that we rely heavily on quality. We believe that quality should not be compromised at any stage whatsoever, right? So while we are not a publisher ourselves, we have agreements with more than 11,000 publishers globally, and we then index their journals and put them on Web of Science. Now, this is the criteria which determines which journal gets indexed on Web of Science and which one does not, right? So within the code collection, this is the evaluation process that we follow. So you have the quality criteria. There are 24 quality criteria that have to be followed. So for every journal, we evaluate the every journal that needs to be indexed, and we check whether these criteria are met or not, right? Even if one criteria is not met, that journal does not get indexed on Web of Science, right? So it's a very exhaustive list, and we follow this list very stringently. And then we have the impact criteria. There are many journals actually which are very good in quality. So apart from showcasing all the quality criteria, they also manage to showcase the impact criteria as well. Now when a journal does that, we allocate that journal an impact factor, right? Okay. Then this is the process how evaluation is done. I will not go in much detail about this process. There's a link that is shown at the end of the slide here, which takes you to our Clarivate's website, and it explains how this indexing procedure happens. If you are interested, you can go through this in more detail by following this link. At the end of the session, I will share this presentation. uh, I will send it to the library, and you can then take it from there. All right. We are a publisher neutral company, right? We do not really, it does not really matter to us who the publisher is, as long as a journal is able to showcase the criteria that we have. We index the journal, right? For us, when I ask many people, how do you shortlist a journal, how do you decide where to publish your research, many of them actually come back to me and say that we look at the reputation of the publisher. Now this is something which is very tricky. Reputations are not measurable. You cannot quantify reputations, right? It is simply based on perceptions, and perceptions cannot be measured, right? So we do not believe in the perception, or we do not believe in reputation of a particular publisher. I'll just go back to the previous slide. Have a look at this. Within the quality criteria, you will not find reputation among the 24 parameters that we have, right? So just wanted to showcase that we are a completely publisher neutral organization, right? And for us, it is just the quality that determines which journal gets indexed and which one does not. Okay, and this is the editorial team. They are a set of people who decide which journal gets indexed and which one does not, based on the based on the criteria that I have just shown you, right? Okay, so moving on. Knowledge, this is one of my favorite quotes, by the way. So it says, knowledge is cumulative, and every groundbreaking discovery is determined to a large extent by the discoveries that came before it. What is being said here is that, old research is very important, right? Whatever we see today is built on the foundation of yesterday, and the same applies to research as well, right? So with that, I'll quickly proceed to my live demo. uh, in the meanwhile, are there any questions related to the presentation? Okay, I'll move on to my demo on the Web of Science platform. Is my screen visible? Is it still visible? I hope it should be. Can anyone confirm? Is my screen still visible? I'm on the browser now. I'm on Chrome and I've opened up the Web of Science platform. Is this visible to you? Hello? Is my screen still visible to all?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, so now here is the Web of Science platform in front of you. Now, how do we look at this platform? See, first of all, the one thing that you should note is, uh, I have already signed in. Now, there are a lot of benefits of signing in, right? And what exactly are those benefits? See, first of all, you can save all your searches, you can set up alerts, you can do a lot of other things. However, one of the biggest advantages that we learned during this pandemic is that, many researchers, we got this request from many researchers during the lockdown that they wanted to access Web of Science, right? While we are working from home, even researchers had to work from home and they needed access to Web of Science. So now what we've done is, if you register and sign up on Web of Science, which is actually free of cost, then we give you 6 months of roaming privileges absolutely free of cost, right? And it is triggered automatically. You don't need to write an email, you don't need to send a request, nothing. As soon as you register and sign in on Web of Science, provided you do this from the IP of your institution, right? So from the network of your university, if you register and sign in on Web of Science platform, now the register icon should be located somewhere here where you currently see my name, right? If you just need to go to www.webofscience.com from the network of your university, and once you do that, you will land on this page automatically, and you should be able to see the register icon somewhere here, right? Once you click on that, registration is absolutely free of cost, takes hardly 2 minutes, and then you sign in. Once you sign in, automatically 6 months of roaming privileges get activated for you for your particular ID. uh, and once those 6 months are about to expire, if you still need to continue the roaming option, you just need to get back to your university, sign in once again from the network, and the 6 months roaming privileges will be renewed. You do not need to register again and again, you just need to sign in the next time. All right. The reason why we keep the limit as 6 months is because many a times students who graduate from the institution tend to leave that institution, right? And the same logic applies to faculty. Many faculty actually decide to move on to other institutions. So we do not want anyone who leaves this organization to retain the access, and hence the limit of 6 months is imposed, right? And if you want to remain in the institution even after those 6 months, then you just need to come back just before the expiry of those 6 months, and you can just sign in and it gets renewed. All right, so moving on, this is the Web of Science platform in front of you. Now let's conduct a simple search. on the Web of Science. Uh, Let me introduce the platform to you. This is the Web of Science. It helps you discover multidisciplinary content, and we are going to do a document search. There's also an option called researches. This is in beta stage of development, and we will very soon be able to have the entire content of Publons on the Web of Science platform. However, right now let's go on with the document search. Here you are asked to select a database. So search in. Now, the one peculiar thing that you will notice on the Web of Science platform is that it is full of drop downs. You will notice that these little arrows everywhere, right? These drop downs. So let's get friendly with this. Let's make it a habit to click on these arrows, right? Click on these drop downs. So search in. Let's click here and see what happens. It displays all the databases that your university is subscribing to. So this drop down basically depends on your subscription. Right now, you see a lot of databases on my screen, but in your case, you may not be able to see as many because this basically depends on your institution's subscription. If you have subscription to, let's say, only the first three, in that case, this drop down will display only the first three databases. All right. And as you scroll down, you will see a summary that runs on the right hand side. This basically tells you a little information about this database so that you know what you're searching, right? So let's go with the Web of Science code collection. And if you remember from the presentation, the code collection is further divided into various indexes, right? We have the science citation index, the social science citation index, the arts and humanities, and so on. They are all located under editions. So right now it says editions all. Let's click on this drop down. Here they are. Science citation index expanded, social science citation index, arts and humanities, and so on. Okay. Please note that for every index, the year is always displayed. In my case, because I'm an employee of this organization, I have been given complete access. In your case, please note here, if you go to Web of Science, it will display the number of years for which you have been given access. In my case, I have access from the year 1900 to present. In your case, you could have options like, the last 20 years. So it will say 2001 to present, or maybe 2002 to present, for people who have access, for institutions that have access for the last 20 years. So this access basically depends on your subscription. So institutions have last 20 years, many of them have last 30 years of content, many of them have 40 years of content. Accordingly, this time period will change for you. All right. So I'm just saying this because in your screen it may look a little different from what you see right now. All right, now let's see how to use Web of Science. If you are a science student, right, what you would do is you'll come here, click on this, unselect everything, and then select only the index that is required. So if you're a science student, you would do this. Select only the science citation index. So now whatever searches you conduct, results will come only from SCIE, right? And similarly, if you're a social science student, you can do this. Select only SSCI, Social Science Citation Index, and then start with your searching, right? What this does is it eliminates all the unwanted results. It eliminates all the noise that you would see in the results, right? You'll get a much cleaner search. Fewer results, meaningful results is what Web of Science is all about. All right, so let's start with a simple search. Let's go with engine, right? It's a very simple keyword, and I'll tell you why I'm using the simple keyword. Let's go with search. Here, what you see is the number of results. So these are the number of results, right? 200, more than 200,000 results is what I'm getting right now on the Web of Science core collection. Now, this is a very large result for me to go through, right? No researcher would have this much time to go through so many results. So, what you might want to do is you might want to refine this search. There are a couple of ways of refining or filtering this search. The first thing you should always look at whenever a result is displayed is basically the number of results. If this result is too big for you, right, if the number is too large, then please refrain from reading these papers. It is normal human tendency. People start actually reading these papers. Well, if I were you, I would first have a look at this number and then try to reduce this number, right? We call it the refining process. You can refine it in a lot of ways. One way could be look at this table on the left hand side and you can start refining from here. For example, you can look at the publication years, right? If you want to look at publications before the year 2019, you can click on this, see all. And here, all the previous years are displayed. And in my case, as I told you, for me, the organization has given me complete access, so my results would start from the year 1900. So on Engine, there were about 35 papers that got published in the year 1900, right? These are very old papers, and then so on, right? In your case, this result will depend on your subscription. So it will take you back only to those years for which you have access, right? Okay, and then you can look at the documents. So basically, what this does is it breaks up this result of 200,000 in roughly 200,000 into the publication years, right? So this is a breakup of all the publications over the years for those 200,000 results. Similarly, for document types, from those 200,000, we have these many articles, right? If I click on this and if I refine, articles or papers is the same thing. So now I'm telling Web of Science that, hey, I want to see only the articles or only the papers, which are these many, all right? The numbers are given. Similarly, conference proceedings, review articles, and so on, all right? Then Web of Science categories. Well, even if you do not understand what this really means, just look at the options here and you will understand what it is. These are basically the subject areas. So, mechanical engineering, fuels and energy, electrical and electronic engineering, and so on, right? So, these are a breakup of the subject areas from those from this total result of 200,000, all right? Similarly, affiliations, a breakup into publication titles as well. Publication titles means names of journals. All right. So on Engine, there are 4,000, roughly 4,500 papers that have been published in this journal called Lecture Notes in Computer Science. And then there are 3,600 papers published in the journal called Fuel, and so on. All right. And then we have these publishers. So all the results that are being displayed, all the papers, from these papers, there are more than 45,000 papers published in Elsevier's journals, right? More than 31,000 papers published in IEEE journals. And you can refine at a publisher level as well, okay? And then open access. Let's click on open access. So from these 200,000 results, 52,000 results are actually open access, which means you can get their full text absolutely free of cost. And we have actually, divided these 52,000 results into the various open access categories. So here you will see a breakup of the open access into gold, green, and free to read. Now, you might say that, hey, I do not understand the difference between green published and green accepted and green submitted. What are these options, right? So here we have this information icon, which is displayed only against open access. If you see, this information icon is not available under any other option, right? If you Go up, you will not see that information icon. It's there only for open access. This is for your benefit. Click on this and you will quickly see the various definitions of these open access categories, right? Here you will see what is gold open access, what is gold hybrid, etc. And here we have a link to the help page. Click on this link and we take you to this new window where we are displaying these definitions in detail. So gold, open access, gold and hybrid, what is free to read, and the three categories under green open access. You can go through this in more detail. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this window is this is called the Web of Science help. So, any terminology that you do not understand on the Web of Science platform, you are most welcome to type it here and search for it. Or you can even go through these options and go through all these, the entire help menu and get the definitions. All right. Okay. Going back, and the benefit is that it opens up in a new window, which means it does not really disturb the search you're already conducting on the Web of Science platform. So you can do these two things simultaneously. You can keep on searching whatever you want to on the Web of Science platform, and at the same time in the other window you can you can get whatever help you need. All right. Okay. Going back to Web of Science, here the like I said, this is one way of refining your searches. The other way could be you could click here in this space, click, and you should be able to see another row that gets added, right? So the topic earlier was engine. By the way, we do not have keywords. uh, Keywords are a part of topic. If you scroll down to, like I said, there's a drop down here. So if I go to the drop down, this option is called topic, and if you hover your mouse here, you will see the definition of topic. And we even give you examples here, right? So topic basically searches the title and the abstract and author keywords and keyword plus. So it includes all these things. So here is the definition for title, author, publication titles, right? Year published. Have a look at this. I would want you to have a close look at year published because I'm going to use this filter in my subsequent searches. So, year published means it searches the publication year field, all right? So, in the example, you would see how we are writing the year 2018. The complete year needs to be written. Many a times, researchers tend to enter shortcuts. They would write 18 instead of 2018. Or if you want to do a search from the year 1995, many researchers just type 95. This is the wrong method. You have to enter the complete year. And you can also enter a time range like this. But the only thing you need to note is please mention the complete year. All right. Okay. So let's go back to topic. Now here another row has been added. You can use these operators and or and not. Okay. And now Web of Science is asking me to enter an author's name. I do not wish to enter an author's name. So what I can do is I can actually change it. Go to the drop down like this, and there's so many options to choose from. Look at this. There's so many options. I want to go back to topic and I can type uh, diesel. Diesel engines. All right. Search. I've got 41,000 results. Right. So if you're doing some sort of research on engines, this is something that you might want to do. Enter another keyword like diesel, and from 200,000 you get 41,000. Right. So there's a huge reduction in the number of results. Go back here, and if you're not happy with this, or if you want to explore further in the topic of engine, you can change. Now this is something we call as the primary keyword, and the second keyword that you enter is called the secondary keyword. I can play around with my secondary keyword like this, petrol, and I can hit search again. I'm getting 12,000. I can go back here again and I can remove this and I can just say biofuel and search. And I'm getting 3,800. All right. And engine, I can remove biofuel and I can just say solar engine. I'm getting these results. Now, this is something that you might want to do because if you're doing research on engine, now what I was trying to showcase here is no matter what your research area is, take a moment, take a pause, and just try to think of a very simple keyword from your own research area. Now, the only reason why I chose engine as the keyword was because I knew that engine is a simple keyword. There would be hundreds and thousands of results on engine, and that is exactly what I wanted. I got the result, I got a huge result, more than 200,000 results, and then it gave me an opportunity to play around with my secondary keyword. I could then explore various options by choosing different secondary keywords, right? Now, if I want, I can actually look at any research. For example, in case of solar engines, I can use a third search and I can actually add publication year published, and I can just see 2020. Is there any research published on solar engines in the year 2020? Let me hit search and find out. Yes, there are 279 results, right? Okay, so this is something that you might want to do. All right, or I can enter an option like this to 2022, so all years till today, right? And I can hit search. Obviously my result is going to increase because I've increased the time range, and now my result is this. Now while I'm doing this, I can also add a I can also create an alert from here. What this alert option does is that if you're a researcher, you can set your query. Now, this is how we create a search query, right? Which means I want all results displayed on engine and solar, so basically solar engine, and published in this time period. So if create an alert, so tomorrow if any new paper that gets added on Web of Science, and if it satisfies this condition, then Web of Science is automatically going to send me an email alert. So it will trigger an email that will come to me from Web of Science, and it will say that, hey, there's a new paper which has been added to Web of Science which satisfies this condition, right? So if you're a researcher, set up your query like this, something like this, whatever be your keywords, and you can create alerts, which means you don't need to come back to Web of Science again and again and again to search more papers. Once the query is created and once you create an alert, Web of Science will inform you automatically, and you can even set up the frequency of those emails that might come to you, right? For example, you might want daily emails, right? So we will send you emails on a daily basis. These are system generated emails. Or if you want emails to come to you on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, it all depends. It is customizable. You can change it according to your preference. All right. Now, if I let's say if I want to go back to my original search on engine, I can go back from here. I can go here, click on the back option again and again and again, which only means that I'm wasting a lot of time, right? So, is there any means of getting back to my original search right away? Or is there any means of looking at all the searches I've done so far? Yes, there is. Just go to history. Now, remember, like I said earlier, signing in to Web of Science is important, although it's not mandatory, but we highly recommend that you should sign into Web of Science because within your history, all your searches are automatically getting saved, right? You might see that there is no save option here. So by default, Web of Science is saving everything in the history option, right? So if I scroll down here, it says the current session, and I started today's session with engine. Even the time is entered, right? Do not worry about the time. This is showing my time, right? I'm based in India, so this is India time. In your case, it will show you your local time. All right. So here I did this search on engine and I got this result. If I click here, I can go back to my original search, and then I added the word diesel and I got this result. So here within the history, you can appreciate how your search is progressing, right? And what can you think in terms of your research. So with diesel, you're getting these many results. With petrol, you're getting these many. So 41,000 with diesel, 12,000 with petrol, 3,800 with biofuel, and 3,300 with solar, right? So many areas that you might want to explore if you are a researcher from the field of engine, right? And then I've used this year published option and I got these various results. At every stage, we give you the option to remove. If you feel that you do not want to save your searches, you can always remove them from here. All right. And within the history option, you can even look at the previous searches. So on May 18, I conducted a couple of searches here. And then on May 17, 16, 15. So I use Web of Science almost on a daily basis. Here are my previous searches on the Web of Science platform. May, April. And then I can go back. I have a lot of searches even in the previous year. See, December, November. So what this does is it helps you in saving a lot of time. So if you want to go back to your the search that you conducted, let's say in the previous month, you can just go to history and look for those searches on that particular date, and you can just click just like this. If I want to go back to my first search, I just need to click here and I will come to my original search, right? So it saves you a lot of time, and there is no limit. You can save as many searches as you want. Now, while you're searching on the Web of Science platform, uh, see, Web of Science follows what you're browsing, right? It looks at your browsing history. So right now, Web of Science has understood that you're trying to search something on engine. Hence, Web of Science will start giving you some recommendations. Here are those recommendations you may also like. Click here and just see what happens. Web of Science is suggesting 50 results to me, right? And these are the suggested results from Web of Science. I can always refine them using this table here. If I do not like these examples, these suggestions, I can go back to my publications and it'll take me to my original result. Okay. Now, if you notice on the Web of Science platform here on the right, for every paper, we display the citations and references for each and every paper. You can solve this result, right? For example, go to this drop down, and if I want to see, let's say, the papers with the highest citations, right? So if I can go here, citations highest first, or if you want to look at the oldest paper, go here, look at the oldest paper first. But this will depend on the subscription you have, right? How many years of subscription your institution actually has. That will be the oldest paper for you. So if your subscription begins from the year 2000, then it'll the oldest paper it is going to show is from the year 2000. In my case, I have complete access, so my results will begin from the year 1900. If I click on this, all right, I always like to see, this is my favorite option. I want to see the most highly cited papers in my research area. So let me click here, citations highest first. So from these 200,000 results, the most highly cited paper happens to be this one with more than 5,700 citations. And of course, the 12 references are also mentioned here. Okay, so let's click on a particular paper. Let's click here. Now, let me just go back very quickly and I'll repeat what I just said earlier initially. Now, if you're a researcher and if you're trying to search for something on Web of Science, try to look for just one paper related to your research area, right? Remember, just one paper, that is sufficient. Of course, you're free to search for more papers, but even one paper can get you your desired results. Let me explain how. See, if I'm a researcher who's trying to do some research on lithium ion rechargeable batteries, right? I'll do a search and I'll get some results that are displayed like this. After going through the various results, now this is just an example that I'm taking, right? After having a read on the title of this paper, this looks interesting, so let me click on this. And remember, I've given you a use case, a scenario where I'm telling you that I'm a researcher on lithium ion rechargeable batteries. So here, the title looks interesting. It's based on lithium ion rechargeable batteries, which is my topic of interest. Whether this paper is really related to my research area or not depends on what it says in the abstract. After going through the abstract, I can easily determine whether this paper is really related to my research area or not. Okay, so the entire abstract is given in front of you. Now, let's just say that yes, this paper is related to my research area. Then this paper itself will solve all my problems. For example, the first use case from my presentation was, Web of Science helps you in your scientific literature review. So, how does it help you in your literature review? Literature review means you need more information related to your research area, you need to dig out more papers. I have found just one paper which is related to my research area. How do I get more papers? Well, it's very easy. One way of getting more papers is looking at the citation network. Okay, so here you have 5,400 papers which have cited the current paper you're looking at, right? And this is clickable, this is hyperlinked, so you can click here and it will take you to the 5,470 results which are displayed like this. Okay, so you can go through all these papers. So one paper has now taken me to 5,400 more papers, and you can continue with your literature review from this entire set of 5,400. And subsequently, you can actually sort this result again if you might want to see the most highly cited again. So click here, citations first. So from these same result of cited papers, citing papers, sorry, you can actually you know look at these papers with highest number of citations. And of course, if you like any paper from here as well, remember it has its own set of citations and references which can take you further. So if I like this paper, this normally happens in research. When you start looking at one paper, you might start liking another paper, which is okay. So if I start liking this paper, which is even more related to my research area, then this becomes my paper of choice. And then I can further explore 3,000 more papers from here, or 140 papers from here. So the literature review can go on and on and on, right? There is a lot of information embedded on Web of Science. You should just know how to find it. It's as simple as that. All right, let's go back. And of course, you can use the refining options here as well. It works in exactly the same manner. Okay, let's go back to my original paper. Now, this paper, while writing this paper, the authors have used a lot of references. Where are those references located? They're seen right here, 50 references. Click here. These references are located right at the bottom of the page here. 50 cited references. Here are the references. Remember, these are papers themselves, so they will have their own set of citations and references. So if you like any paper from here again, you can click on these citations or references to get more information, and you can continue with your literature review as well. Yeah, then your problem of literature review can also be solved by looking at this. So now, while you're interested in this paper, Web of Science has understood that this is what you're interested in. So again, the recommendations from Web of Science are seen here. Yeah, these are the recommendations of Web of Science. You can go through this, or you can click on see all. These are some recommendations, right? Then look, exploring this paper further, these are the names of the authors. They are the ones who have written this paper. There are here you will see their researcher ID and ORCID details. If you want, you can look at the ORCID number of this particular author. It takes you to the ORCID page. So the author's name is John Bannister Goodenough, and this is his ORCID number. And you can see where he's currently employed, right? He's mentioned the name of the institutions where he has been, where he has already worked, and his qualifications, and then his publications, right? As you can see, he's basically been working on this area. And let's just go back to Web of Science. Okay, this is the journal where this paper has been published, Journal of the American Chemical Society. Click on this and you will see the impact factor. Now this information, the impact factor information, normally would not be displayed for you, because for this, you need to subscribe to Journal Citation Reports. This is another a different product, and it requires a separate subscription. It does not come free with Web of Science. All right. I just want you to make note of that. So in my case, like I said, my organization has given me complete access. So I'm also getting information related to the impact factors. But in your case, this may not be displayed, right? So what you will get is this. This is something which will always be displayed for you. And what exactly is this? It tells you that this Journal of American Chemical Society is basically indexed in chemistry, in the subject of chemistry. And the rank of this particular journal is 15 out of a total of 178 journals that have been indexed in this particular subject area. This ranking is basically dependent on the impact factor, right? And then you would see the quartile. So it's a quartile 1 journal, Q1, right? Which means it is a good journal. Q1 is the best category. Then below that we have Q2, then Q3, and then in the end we have Q4. So if it's a quartile 1 journal, it is considered to be among the top 25% journals. So it is one of the best journals, right? So even if impact factor is not available to you, as long as it is in the Q1 category, you would know that it is among the top 25% journals as far as impact factor is concerned. Okay, then we give you the volume, issue page, etc. The DOI is given, when was it published, all these details are given, and below that you will see the author information. Now I told you that this one paper is actually sufficient for all your needs. For example, if you want to collaborate with someone, right? How do you collaborate? If I like this paper, I may want to co-author with these people. They are the best people to co-author with, because they are good researchers. They have already published papers in my research interest, papers of my research interest, and they have written a good paper because it's been cited a lot of times, right? So what do I do now? Can I request them to become my co-authors? The answer is yes. So how can I contact them? You need their names. Names are displayed on Web of Science. You need their addresses. Where are these people located? Scroll down, you will see the author information. Here are the addresses. So both of them, then the corresponding author is John B. Goodenough. He's the corresponding author, and he is based from the uh, you know Austin University in Texas, and even the department is mentioned. So actually both the authors are from the same university, right? And you would also get the email address of the corresponding author, so you can directly get in touch with this person by writing an email to him, right? This is as far as we can take you. After this, you're on your own. So if you want, you can contact this person and you can take the discussion forward at your own level. Okay, and then we give you the this is something that has been recently introduced. This is the categories, and the classification gives you the major concepts and the concept code, etc. You can go through this in your free time. We also give you the funding agencies here. The funding agency which has funded this research is the Welch Foundation. The grant number is also provided. Okay. All right. So with that, let me just go back. Okay. So moving on, let me quickly take you to the analyze option. Right. If you have a result which is as large as this, while you may not be able to read so many papers, right, you can always analyze them. So how do we analyze? Just click on this, analyze, and this answers most of your research based questions, right? For example, as a researcher on the topic of engine, the topic is displayed right here, right? You might want to know which are the top organizations which are doing research in this area, right? So just go to this drop down and look for organizations. Guess what? You will not find organizations. Instead, you will see affiliations, which is actually the same thing. So let's click on affiliations and get the result. Here it is. So these are the top affiliations, top organizations doing research on the topic of engine. So, and even the number of results are displayed. For example, the University of California has published 3,300 papers on engine. And if I want, I can have a read directly by going here, view records, right? It's a shortcut. You can have a read of these papers directly from here, and so on. So these are the top 10 organizations, right? What you see currently is something that we call as a tree map. You can change it to a bar graph by selecting this option. So the same result is displayed now in the form of a bar graph. And of course, the shortcut keys will remain. Yeah. Right now, what you're seeing in the next drop down is for number of results. Use right now what you see are 10 results. You can change to 5, or you can even go up to all the way up to 25 results, right? Like this. Okay. Having said that, I personally like to look at the top 10 only. So I'll go back to top 10, and you can always download this into a JPG if you want. You can use it in your presentations, etc. As you scroll down, you will see uh, this list. This is exactly the same information that we have seen in the chart above, right? Now, why do we need this list when everything is available in the chart? Well, we need this list because the results can be displayed from top 10 right up to top 500, which is not possible in the case of a chart, right? Let's look at top 10 only. So these are the top 10 results. The other advantage that you see in this list is, suppose I want to look at the two institutions together. There are two or three institutions together. I want to combine searches. This option is not available in charts. I cannot combine institution number 2 and 3, for example. Here, I can do that. I can click institution number 2 and 3, and I can combine refine results by selected. So if I do that, I'm telling Web of Science to show me a combined result of 3394 plus 3050. Of course, if there are any papers in co-authorship, those will be reduplicated and counted only once, right? So I can combine results by just selecting the relevant option. Or if I want, I can remove anything. For example, I notice that, hey, there's one interesting thing that I notice here, and that is that all these institutions, these are individual institutions, right? However, the first option is basically a league of European research universities. So these are many institutions clubbed together, put together. So I do not want to include this. So I can actually select something that I do not want, and I can click on exclude from results. So I can exclude it like this. All right. And this is how you can exclude. So you can just select anything and exclude, and the remaining results will be displayed, right? At any stage, if you want, you can download this chart. It downloads into a, a, a notepad. Notepad looks like this. Do not try to read what the notepad says. Instead, what I would recommend is just select everything on the notepad and copy paste on an Excel. So let me quickly open up a new Excel in front of you. So I'm going to open up a new Excel like this. This is the new Excel that I'm opening. All right, here we are. So this is the new Excel sheet. I just need to copy paste whatever is there on the notepad. So I've copied everything. I'm just pasting it here. Remove the last two rows like this and you're done. So this is the result you're getting from Web of Science. Let me just close the notepad. So this is something that I've already picked up from Web of Science. See, this is displayed on Web of Science, and now you have the same information on Excel. So I've shown you how to export information from Web of Science to Excel, and now you can play around with the Excel. These are Excel based options. You can create any kind of chart, whether it is a bar graph or a pie chart, anything, and you can beautify the chart as much as you want. You can remove this, you can add data labels, etc., and even you can even change the heading. You can just say top 10 organizations here, and you can paste it in your presentation. So you can even use this information in creating presentations. I'm sure as researchers you are required to create presentations, so this is how it's done, right? Going back to Web of Science, we have been looking at affiliations. This is just one option that we just chose, right? You can do the same thing for other options. For example, on the topic of engine, you might want to see which are the top funding agencies. So go to the drop down, look for funding agencies, and your results are displayed. Here are the top 10 funding agencies. And these are the number of papers they have funded, right? You can again go back here and see which are the best journals where research is getting published on engine. Look for publication titles, click, and your answer is displayed. These are the journals where your uh, you know where these journals are publishing research on engine. So if there are, let's say, hundreds of journals and you do not have the time, I would suggest first read the top 10. These are the best journals because they have published the highest number of papers on engine. All right. You can even look for countries. Go here, and there's an option called country or region. This gives you the top countries that have published research on engine, and here we are. USA has published the highest number of research on engine, more than 51,000 results, and then China and England and India and so on, right? And you even get the percentages. So based on the actual numbers of papers from the total result of 200,000, USA has published more than 22% of research on engine. China has published 16% of research on engine, right? And so on. These percentages actually have a lot of value. So you can even look at express this number in terms of percentages from here. All right. So you can explore all this is available under the analyze option. I'll just go back to show you where it was. Analyze is located right here. Okay. See, Web of Science is a very elaborate product, right? There are a lot of things, lot of features which are embedded on Web of Science, and it actually become is very difficult to put everything in, let's say, 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hours. So obviously we cannot cover everything. What I've tried to do within this past 1.5 hour is I've tried to showcase the most important features that are there on Web of Science. This was for the benefit of young researchers, so that at least they can get started with Web of Science and start doing their searching, right? However, uh, please explore Web of Science platform more and you'll get more results. Here, I would like to highlight that if you go here on this question mark sign here, and you can go to trainings, you can do this in your free time. Go to trainings, and you can go to the training portal. This is something that we provide for you free of cost. We have, this is the Web of Science platform. It takes you to another window. This is basically the Clarivate website. You have training resources, so you can have a look at these videos in your free time, right? And you can get started. So here are all the training resources that you may need. right? We have a lot of video tutorials for you. You have self-learning guides, you have in-product resources, you have live trainings. You can register for these trainings absolutely free of cost, and you can attend them live depending on your time zone and your preferred language. You can select all these options from here. You have various lib guides and you have recorded webinars. So these are the sessions which have already been conducted and recorded, and you can view them at your convenience. So you can use all of this in your free time, right? Whatever I've discussed today will is actually coming from all these video tutorials combined together, right? So many of the options are actually seen here. uh, like I said, it's just not possible to cover everything, so I'll just take a pause here. I'll actually stop here and have a look at the questions. We'll try and answer a few questions and then we can end the session. So let's take a few questions. Let me just go back, have a look at the chat.
Okay, we have question here. Are Boolean operators in WOS similar with other databases?
Yeah, I've just seen that question. Thank you for asking the question. Are Boolean
Ah,
operators in WOS similar with other databases? Well, yes. Most of the databases actually have similar options. So if I go back to Web of Science and if I go here, the operators, if this is what you're asking, the and, or, and not option, we call them Boolean operators, right? They are more or less the same in most of the other options. Well, in fact, this reminds me, I can actually even, you know, I can even show you some wildcards. So what do we mean by wildcards, right? So if I use the word engine, and I get, you know, 231570. This is the number of results if I use the keyword engine. Let me play with this keyword. Let me just make it plural by putting engines, and let me see what happens. Okay, it actually remains the same. However, if you use other keywords, for example, cell, if I use the keyword cell, I'm getting these many results, right? More than 7 million results. And if I change it to cells, does the number actually change? Okay. Uh, Oil spill. I'm getting these many results on oil spill. And if I use this wildcard, let's say spills or spilled, this result is likely to change, right? The only reason why I'm showing you this option is because, you know, it uses the various words in English language, which ends where the starting point is the same. For example, let's just say mm, manage. Manage. Okay, manage is this. I'm getting this results, these many results for manage. And when I put the word managed, 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 the results will change, right? Manager, management. See, the results are changing here. So the wildcard means if you just put the word manage and put a star, it covers all the words which actually start with manage. And you know, it could end with anything: manage, manager, managed, management. All those words are covered if you put the star option here, right? So basically the starting point is the same right up till manage, and after that all the words that can be formed in the English language, right, all those words will be considered as a keyword, and then you get your result. So this is such a huge result. See, so this is called a wildcard, right? You might want to use this in your searches to cover all the various name options that may exist in English language. All right. So Let's see if there are any further questions. All right, that was the only question, Hafiza, that I found. Are there any other
Yes,
questions?
yes,
I
that's the only
request.
question.
Okay. Uh, I request everyone else to please. This is your time. If you want, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions, or you can simply put it in the chat box.
Okay,
I'm
here
actually viewing the chat.
there is one question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, is there any method to look for article listing inside scientific journals? For example, I'm looking for article specifically published in Scientifica journal.
So you're looking for any article
Please
published
comment,
in a
bersama.
scientific journal. Sorry, you're looking for an article published in a scientific journal. Is that the question? Yeah,
Please respond,
Hafiza, is that the
Encik Adi, Adi Azhar.
so you're looking for an article published in a scientific journal? Is that the question?
Is there any method? Yes.
Is there any method of looking for an article published in a scientific journal? Is that the question? Hafiza, is that the question? Can you confirm? Okay, I'll try to answer that. See, if you click on this option
Mm.
here, you'll go back to the home page like this, and you can always clear your search. Clearing everything means you can start afresh. So, clear. So, you will first have to specify something. For example, you can start your search with a keyword. If keyword is the option you want to start with, use topic, right? Use topic, and you can enter your keyword and you can start your searching. If you want to start your search with the name of a journal, then you can even do that. For example, click on this drop down and you can start with publication title. Publication title is basically the name of journal. Searches for journal titles. It also covers book titles and proceedings as well. But right now, if you click on publication title, this is how you can start your searching, right? You can just enter the name of a journal from here. It will automatically show in this option. For example, let me just go with Journal of, let's say, Journal of Communication Management. If this is the journal I'm looking for, I can just click and I can search. So now I'm getting 476 results for Journal of Communication Management, right? So these are the number of papers coming from this journal, and it's all shown here. Yeah. So you just need to know the name of the journal and you can start your search accordingly. At the same time, even if you start your search with a keyword, like I use let me go back to the same example of engine. If I use the same keyword and if I start my search, I can even look for journals from here. Scroll down, look at the left hand side, and look for publication titles. Here you see the publication titles, right? And you can click on see all. You'll get more options. You can refine like this. For example, I want to look at these two options. I am selecting this and I'm clicking on refine. So I'm getting 4,449 results from these two journals, right? And the results are displayed like this. Again, you can do further refining if you want, or you can even analyze, right? Okay, I hope I've answered the question. Any further questions?
Yeah. I think I have one last questions.
Okay.
Last week I was searching check for one journal I think Splendidos publication, biomedical reports. In the Shimago Journal rank shows quartile 3, Q3, whereas in
Okay.
WOS shows no quartile. Any comment?
Well, actually, we do not follow SciMago. SciMago comes from a
Ah,
different platform, so
yeah, yeah,
we really cannot comment on that, right? How they're arriving at that particular quartile. So
yeah.
it's better not to talk about the
Yes, yes,
any other product. I can only answer questions that are related to Web of Science. So on Web of Science, it is possible, if even if we look at the current
yes,
result that we are seeing right now, it is very much possible to see the quartile. Like I said earlier, click on the paper and then you will see the name of the journal. Click on the name of the journal and you will see the quartile. Quartiles are displayed. Here, two quartiles are displayed. Why? Because energy is the name of the journal. It is a multidisciplinary journal, right? And here, because it has papers coming from two different subject areas, fuels and energy, and it comes from thermodynamics. So these are the two subject areas covered. Hence, in the subject of fuels and energy, we have a total of 114 journals on Web of Science, and this particular journal, energy, is at the 22nd rank. In the field of thermodynamics, there are 60 journals on Web of Science, and this particular journal ranks at the third position. In both cases, it happens to be a quartile one journal. Now, this option is important because in many cases, when especially in case of multidisciplinary journals, you will see that the quartile is different for different subject areas. It could be quartile 1 for energy and fuels, it could be quartile 2 for thermodynamics. So it depends on your research interest. If you're a student of energy and fuels, it is a good journal for you. But if for example this is Q2, just as an example, if this is Q2, then and if you're a student of thermodynamics, this may not be a very good journal because it is Q2, right? So quartile information is very important and it is displayed on Web of Science like this. We do not have any SciMago information available on Web of Science, right? Okay. Back
yes.
to you,
Clear,
Hafiz.
clear, Mr.
So
Sharma.
any other question? Yeah, thank you. Any other question?
I think no more question, right, from the chat box.
Okay,
So
no
I
more
think
questions.
I would like to thank the Mr. Sharma for the fruitful discussion, and then all this
Thank you.
guidance for us to use WOS
Thank you.
website. And then thank you for joining this webinar Open Day at PITA UCS, Clarivate Web of Science. Okay, thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you for the
please
lovely session.
thank you.
Good day, everyone. I'm leaving the session. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you. Bye.